There is a moment, quiet and almost invisible, when a narcissist looks at you and realizes you finally see them. Not the mask, not the performance, not the carefully constructed version they spent years convincing you was real, but the actual person underneath, the hollow center, the fear, the emptiness they have been hiding their entire life. And in that single moment, something between the two of you changes forever. You may not have words for it yet. You may not even fully understand what just happened. But your body knows. Your nervous system knows. Something ancient inside you exhales while something inside them begins to panic. If you have ever felt that exact moment, if you have ever sensed a shift in someone you love the second you stop believing their version of reality, then stay with me. Before we go any further, take a breath and gently subscribe to this channel. Not because I am asking out of habit, but because this space was built for people like you. People who lived through things they could never explain to anyone else. People who are finally waking up. Every time you subscribe, you are not just following a channel. You, understanding the narcissistic mind, are choosing yourself. You are telling your nervous system that healing is no longer optional. You are walking back home to the person you were before they tried to erase you. Now, let us go deeper, because what happens inside a narcissist, the moment they realize you see through them, is one of the most psychologically intense experiences a human being can witness. And most survivors witness it without ever being warned, without ever being prepared, without ever understanding what they are actually looking at. For a long time, the narcissist depended on one thing above all else: your belief in them, your doubt of yourself, your willingness to question your own memory, your own perception, your own instincts before questioning theirs. That was the entire foundation of the relationship, not love, not connection, not partnership. Control built on the quiet erosion of your inner certainty. And the second that erosion stops, the second you begin trusting your own eyes again, the entire structure they built around you starts to crack. At first, they sense it before they understand it. Narcissists are not emotionally intelligent, but they are emotionally observant in a predatory way. They notice the smallest things: a pause before you answer, a tone that no longer trembles, a silence that used to, the power of their lies, be filled with apology, eye contact that no longer flinches. They feel the shift in your energy long before you say a single word. And internally, something begins to unravel inside them, because the version of you they relied on, the anxious, doubting, self-blaming version, is slowly disappearing. This is when the behaviors begin, and they almost always follow a pattern, even though it feels unique and chaotic when you are inside it. The first response is usually panic disguised as charm. Suddenly they are softer, kinder, more attentive than they have been in months, sometimes years. They remember things they pretended not to care about. They bring up memories they once mocked. They look at you the way they used to look at you in the beginning, when everything felt magical and confusing at the same time. This is not love returning. This is love bombing reactivating. It is a survival reflex, not a heart opening. They are not trying to reconnect with you. They are trying to reinstall themselves into your nervous system before you fully wake up. And if you have lived through this, you know how disorienting it is, because part of you wants to believe it. Part of you wants to think that maybe they finally understand. Maybe they finally see what they did. Maybe this time is different. That part of you is not weak. That part, when you start seeing the truth of you, is wounded. It is the part that waited years for an apology that never came, for accountability that never arrived, for the version of them they only showed you in glimpses to keep you hoping. The love bombing works on that wound, not on your intelligence. But when the charm does not pull you back in, when you stay calm, when you stop reacting, when you no longer chase, the next phase begins. And this is where the mask starts slipping in ways even they cannot control. Rage comes next, sometimes loud, sometimes silent, sometimes hidden behind a smile so cold it makes the room feel smaller. The rage is not really about anything you did. The rage is about the loss of psychological access to you. For years, they could reach inside you and rearrange your emotions with a sentence, a glance, a sigh, a sudden withdrawal of affection. Now they cannot. And to a narcissist, losing that access feels like dying because their sense of self was never built from within. It was built from the reflection they saw in your reactions. When you stop reflecting them the way they need, they do not just feel rejected, they feel erased. This is why their reactions become so disproportionate, why a calm boundary feels to them like why narcissists fear, awareness an act of war, why your silence enrages them more than your tears ever did, why your indifference feels like a knife, because in their internal world you were never a separate person. You were an extension of their identity, and the moment you reclaim yourself, they experience it as a kind of psychological amputation. Then comes the silent treatment, the cold withdrawal, the sudden disappearance of warmth, communication, presence. And here is what most people do not understand about the narcissistic silent treatment. It is not avoidance, it is punishment. It is a calculated weapon designed to activate every abandonment wound you have. They know exactly what your nervous system does when they go quiet. They studied it. They memorized it. They used it for years to keep you anxious, attentive, eager to repair, eager to apologize for things you never did. And now, when they sense you slipping away, they reach for that weapon again, hoping it still works. But something has changed inside you. The silence that used to break you now feels like air. The distance that used to terrify you now feels like clarity. You notice, perhaps for the first time, how peaceful your body feels when they are not in the room, how your shoulders drop, how your breath deepens, how your thoughts return to you, and the collapse of manipulation. That realization is one of the most painful and liberating moments a survivor ever experiences, because you understand quietly and completely that the person you loved was also the source of the chronic stress you carried in your body for years. When the silent treatment fails, projection intensifies. Suddenly, you are the narcissist. You are the manipulator. You are the cruel one, the cold one, the unstable one, the abusive one. Every single thing they did to you gets repackaged and handed back to you as your identity. And if you are not psychologically grounded in this moment, it can shake you to your core. Because being accused of the very things that were done to you is one of the most disorienting experiences a human being can endure. It is a form of psychological inversion, a mirror held up backwards, a reality flipped inside out. But here is the truth that took you years to understand. Projection is confession. Every accusation is autobiography. Every label they throw at you is a description of their own inner world that they cannot face. They are not describing you. They are describing the parts of themselves they spent a lifetime running from. And when you finally see this, when you truly internalize it, their words lose their power. They become noise. They become how they react when exposed evidence. They become proof of everything you suspected but were too afraid to name. Then comes the blame shifting, the rewriting of history, the careful surgical reconstruction of every memory you share. They did not do that. You misremembered. You exaggerated. You are too sensitive. You are too dramatic. You twisted their words. You provoked them. You forced them into it. And for years you may have absorbed this. You may have apologized for things that were done to you. You may have rewritten your own memories to match their narrative just to keep the peace. But now, something in you refuses. Something in you remembers. Something in you finally believes itself. And this, more than anything else, is what terrifies them. Because a narcissist can survive your anger. They can survive your tears. They can survive your accusations. What they cannot survive is your clarity, your calm, your quiet, unwavering knowing, the look in your eyes that says, I see you now, and I am no longer afraid. Before we continue, I want you to pause for just a moment. If anything I have said so far has reached a place inside you that has been waiting years to be reached, please subscribe, not for me, for the part of you that is finally waking up, for the version of you that survived everything they did and is now learning how to live again. This channel exists for that taking back your personal power version of you, for the quiet, brave, deeply intelligent person who is reading between every line because they have lived every line. You are not alone here. You never were. Now let us keep going because the deeper layers of this realization are where true healing begins. When charm, rage, silence, projection, and blame shifting all fail, the narcissist moves into more desperate territory. Intimidation, triangulation, reputation attacks. Suddenly, there are other people involved. Friends who used to like you now look at you strangely. Family members who never questioned you start asking pointed questions. Coworkers shift in your presence. Mutual connections grow distant. You feel it before you can prove it. The narcissist has been working behind the scenes, planting seeds, dropping hints, painting you as unstable, ungrateful, unwell, unkind. They are building a narrative, recruiting allies, constructing a version of reality where they are the victim and you are the threat. This is one of the most painful stages of awakening because you not only lose the person you thought you loved, you sometimes lose people you trusted, people who believed the story before they asked you a single question. And the grief of that is immense. It is layered. It is complicated. It is the grief of losing not just a relationship, but a social reality you thought was stable. But here is what survivors eventually understand. The people who believed the smear without ever asking, setting strong boundaries, you were never truly your people. They were extensions of the narcissist's social mask. They were stage props in a performance you did not know you were part of. And while losing them hurts, their absence eventually becomes a kind of cleansing. Your circle becomes smaller, but it becomes real, quieter but truer, less crowded but finally safe. Then comes triangulation, the introduction of a new person, a new ally, a new flame, a new admirer paraded in front of you to provoke jealousy, insecurity, comparison. This is not love. This is choreography. The new person is not a replacement. They are a tool, a mirror polished and held up to your face to make you doubt your worth one last time. And in the early stages of awakening, this can hurt deeply. You may compare yourself. You may feel discarded. You may wonder why they get the version of the narcissist you were promised but never received. But with time, you understand. The new person is not winning. They are next. They are walking into the same maze you just escaped, only they do not know it yet. The cycle does not change. The mask does not stay on forever. The same patterns will surface. The same wounds will reopen. The same role you played will be assigned to someone new, because the narcissist is not changing. They are reenacting endlessly, compulsively, tragically. And in the middle of all this, you are doing something extraordinary. Even if you do not healing from emotional manipulation realize it yet, you are healing in real time. You are learning to sit with discomfort without abandoning yourself. You are learning to notice manipulation without falling for it. You are learning the difference between love and longing, between attachment and trauma bonding, between peace and emotional numbness. Your nervous system is slowly remembering what safety feels like. Your intuition is coming back online. Your sense of self is returning piece by piece like a long, slow sunrise after years of darkness. You may notice that you cry more now or less. You may sleep differently. You may have dreams that feel like memories and memories that feel like dreams. You may feel anger you were never allowed to feel. Grief you were never given permission to express. Confusion that comes in waves followed by clarity that feels almost holy. This is not regression. This is integration. This is your psyche finally being allowed to process what it had to suppress just to survive. And one day, often without warning, you will notice something quiet but profound. You will think of them and feel nothing. Not love, not hate, not longing, not rage. Just a clean, calm, neutral knowing. The kind of knowing that does not need to argue, does not need to explain, does building unshakable confidence not need to be understood by anyone but you. That is the moment your nervous system finally releases them. That is the moment the spell breaks completely. That is the moment you become unreachable to them. Not because you built a wall, but because you built a self. Seeing through a narcissist is not just an act of perception. It is an act of liberation. It is the beginning of psychological freedom. It is the moment your inner world stops being colonized by someone else's chaos. It is the moment you stop translating their behavior into your fault. It is the moment you reclaim the parts of yourself you abandoned just to keep the peace. Your voice, your softness, your intuition, your laughter, your boundaries, your time, your dreams, your body, your future. And the most beautiful part is this: you do not have to confront them to be free. You do not have to win an argument, get an apology, receive closure, or be understood by them. Your freedom does not depend on their awakening. It depends on yours, and yours has already begun. The fact that you are here listening to these words, breathing slowly, recognizing final motivation and key lessons, yourself in every sentence, is proof that something inside you can no longer be silenced. So before you go, I want to ask you one last thing. Subscribe to this channel and stay with me on this path. Not because the journey ends here, but because it is only beginning. There is so much more to understand, so much more to heal, so much more of yourself to meet. The version of you that exists on the other side of this awakening is someone you have not been introduced to yet. Someone wiser, someone softer, someone unshakable in ways you cannot yet imagine. And I want to walk with you slowly and gently until you meet that person face to face. Because what happens when a narcissist realizes you see through them is only half of the story. The other half is what happens when you realize you were always more than they could ever control. And that realization, quiet as it begins, is the sound of your real life starting.